Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang the ling bling chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang the ling bling chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now.
What up, y'all? Babylon 5 Podcast. It's your boy, Jermaine Event. How are you guys feeling? This is episode 168. Calling this bad boy See No Evil, man. I'm real hype right now. I was just running around a second ago. I was like, I usually record with the light off, the overhead light off, and I had my ring light on. That's usually the only light. And as I started to record, I fucking was like, fuck, I left the light on. So I jumped up to record that. To turn that off. But it's only, 30 seconds? It's like a 27-second intro. So I was just, rushing around right here for a second. I was just like, I'm not going to make it. I was panicking. But I'm here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here. It's episode 168. How is it hanging? We are calling this bad boy See No Evil. Alright, we're calling this bad boy See No Evil. And in this episode, we are only talking about UFC 281. Shout out to Amanda Lemos on her victory last night. And we're moving on. I'm not hating. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Neil Magny. We're going to talk about UFC 281 here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And not even all the fights, my nigga. Just 3 fights and we out of here. I'm hitting them with the classics. There's no classics. They didn't happen yet. But we're talking about UFC 281. Headlined by Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Co-main event. Carla Esparza defends her belt against Shangwei Lee. Also on this card that we were talking about, we will talk about Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler. We're going to talk about that in this episode 168. Welcome. I'm happy you guys are here. And if you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at babylon5podcast@gmail.com if you guys want to hit that like button. I'd appreciate it so much. Give it 5 stars. Do whatever the fuck you need to do. Let them know you love the podcast. Why not? Why not? You're here. Stick around for a little bit. Take your coat off. No, I'm not going to take my coat off. I got my Summit Ice jacket on right now. It's Holocaust awareness. We deny nothing. Fucks with this jacket. It's my favorite jacket, so rocking this jacket. But for you guys, take your coat off. Stay a while. You know what I'm saying? Stay a while. And if you guys would, if you trust me, if you believe that one of these days I'm gonna stream on Twitch, follow me at twitch.tv/Babylon5. If you guys like to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/stores/BOFpod-shop, ladies and gentlemen. And lastly, don't just be my Niji, be my patron. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod and you can be my patron today. I was curious if you could see what this cup says in the camera here. You can't really see with the light. It says Detective Juice, I believe. From my wife and I did the Hunter Killer. You know, you guys should check it out. It's like a monthly subscription. They'll send you clues or some shit and you gotta figure out what happened. So yeah, it's pretty cool. They're not sponsoring this podcast. That'd be cool. But I fucks with them regardless. UFC 281, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know, is headlined by this man, Israel Adesanya, who is defending. He's the reigning, defending UFC middleweight champion. He's defending his belt against a familiar opponent in Alex Pereira. They fought twice in Glory FC, or Glory Kickboxing, with Pereira winning a controversial decision in the first meeting and Adesanya being knocked out in the second meeting. Which, I don't know. This is my thing. I just don't understand the reason to rush. I don't understand the reasoning behind rushing Alex Pereira. Yes, I am a huge Adesanya fan. If you could see the desktop here, it's Adesanya versus Anderson Silva. So, I was real salty last week when Anderson Silva lost to Jake Paul. So let's just keep that real here. I was real salty. But I just don't understand here. As admittedly a big fan of Adesanya, but as a fan of anybody, with as many fights as Pereira has had in MMA, and he's 35 years old. Why are they rushing any 35-year-olds to the belt right now? Other than the fact that he knocked out Izzy years ago. But what's the payout here? You know what I'm saying? Best case scenario, if your plan somehow works, I don't know. Like, I say, if Alex Pereira wins, I don't feel like Pereira becomes a pay-per-view draw. I don't feel like that guy instantly becomes a pay-per-view star. I was curious. Just because when they were rushing this guy to fight Strickland, and I'm like, dude, he's going to knock Strickland out. Does that tell me that he would have got through Derek Brunson? Probably. I don't know. I wanted to see it. Why does everybody else have to work their way up? But this guy at 35 is why you're rushing it up. You hope, honestly, in my opinion, they hope that Izzy loses. Just so that they have more leverage come contract renegotiations. Because right now, Izzy would probably be the highest paid behind Conor McGregor. And for good reason. I look at these numbers, and Izzy has, of our modern era, like the two highest selling pay-per-view. UFC 253 with 700,000 pay-per-view buys, and UFC 263 with 600,000 pay-per-view buys. Only person in this era, alright, in this modern era of the UFC that is hitting those numbers or better is Conor McGregor. It's the only person. So, by rushing a 35-year-old Alex Pereira here to this fight only because he beat him years ago, he doesn't need to go through like proper progression simply because he beat Adesanya in the past. I just don't understand. Like, what are you hoping for? You're hoping that maybe people are so intrigued by that power that he fucking sells 800,000 pay-per-views and Adesanya still wins? That's the best case scenario here? Because he's your biggest star outside of Conor, who's posting that he's 265 pounds right now. Man's gigantic, and he's not in the USADA pool. He's at the fucking heavyweight limit. Okay. He's gigantic, and he's at the heavyweight limit. Like, I don't understand. That's the guy who's selling more pay-per-views. That's the only guy who's coming close. Below that, Habib, who's retired. Oh yeah, no, Oliveira. Oliveira. The champion has a name. Oliveira is the next guy. Out of active. Out of active guys. It's Charles Oliveira. Okay. It's interesting though, because Gaethje is kinda up there with the Ferguson and the Khabib fight. So it's like, I don't know, it's kinda skewed because the fight that Ferguson Gaethje was supposed to be Ferguson Khabib. So I don't know if those buys were already there. You know what I'm saying? Or was niggas just that hype? I mean, that was like after post-pandemic. It was like the only event, like the first event coming back, and niggas was real hype for that fight. Because we thought we was going to get Tony Khabib at some point. That's never going to happen. Yeah, that's never going to happen. And we already know what would have happened in that. We don't need to see that. But my point is, Israel's your biggest star. And if he gets fucking knocked out, I wish Izzy would be like, alright, cool. I've made enough money in this shit. I'm about to go to Hollywood and be a star. Just retires on that ass. I'm telling you. Alex will not be an instant star if he knocks out Izzy. Izzy's already lost in the UFC. He already lost to Jan. He got outstruck by Jan, I felt like, in that fight. He's already lost in the UFC. I don't feel like Alex Pereira becomes an instant star by potentially knocking out Israel Adesanya. I'm not saying he can't become a star. I'm saying he doesn't become an instant star. He doesn't become your highest selling fucking draw in the company. And I wish if Izzy loses, he's just like, alright, I retire. I'm gonna go to Hollywood and be a star. I'm done with this shit. I wish he'd do that shit. And then just let this nigga carry it. If you feel like this was the wise. I'm just saying, when I was seeing this, I was talking to people on Twitter and they were like, nah, man, it's just his time. Like, if he wins, they already said he's the number one contender, but he shouldn't even be in that fight. You got unranked fighter versus number 4 Sean Strickland. That fight should have never happened. Why couldn't he work his way up? Hamzat even had to he had to fight Li Jingliang and all these kind of niggas. You know what I'm saying? He had to work. He still hasn't had a title fight. Judging off of Pereira's fucking trajectory, this nigga should have fucking had a couple title fights at this point. He should be going for double champ status at this fucking point. Jesus fucking Christ. He should have already been that nigga we thought he was gonna be, judging by this nigga's trajectory. And y'all gonna send this nigga in here against my nigga Adesanya for what reason, nigga? What's the payout? What's the best? If this win does nothing for Adesanya, this is what, his 8th fight? This is his 8th MMA fight. Only fucking hardcores know who this nigga is. Casuals clearly know who Adesanya is. 700,000, 600,000 pay-per-view buys. And at your best case is if this nigga if he sells 800,000 and knocks out Adesanya, dude, he's not gonna be an instant star. Nobody knows on his 8th fight, 8 fights, nigga. Nobody knows who the fuck that guy is. I'm not saying he can't be a star, but it won't be. You're gonna see a dip, my nigga. You can see a dip in pay-per-view buys for like a year. Possibly. Well, you still got Usman. Usman's a big guy. is for pay-per-views. Pardon me on that. Usman's done some numbers as well. Usman has done some numbers, but I see no reason why Adesanya shouldn't fuck this nigga up. I also see no reason why, as Pereira has already beaten him twice, that he couldn't win here. We saw a similar case with Joanna Jacek fighting Valentina Shevchenko. I believe they had fought twice in Muay Thai. Valentina won twice in Muay Thai, and she was pretty dominant in their MMA fight. The only difference is with the Izzy fights. Izzy pretty much should have won the first fight according to a lot of people, and in the second fight he was winning until he got knocked out. So that's what kind of makes this fight interesting. We're calling this episode See No Evil because I've been saying for the longest that I don't even want to see this shit. I don't even know if I'm going to watch this goddamn fight. Because let's say some fuck shit happened. I don't even want to see that shit live. Nigga, I don't even want to see that shit live. I'd rather just read about it, my nigga. I'd rather just read about it. If some fuck shit happened, but I see no reason. This shit makes no sense. When he was fighting Strickland, I was like, yo, this fight makes no sense. And y'all just line this nigga up perfectly with Sean Strickland? Nigga. Get that nigga somebody like Paulo Costa. If you're gonna decide this nigga... Was you telling me that Strickland was the number one contender? Before that fight? I didn't realize Strickland was that close. And you would have gave him a fucking title fight? Let's say he went in there and dusted this nigga off in his 7th fucking fight. Jesus Christ. You wouldn't have been like, oh, no, he should be fighting for the belt next. You would have been like, oh, well, this guy clearly has not that much experience in MMA. He's a skilled kickboxer. But dude, Jesus Christ, that's my point here. That's my point. A win here for Adesanya, like, as he is the champion, it's necessary, but it doesn't do as much for him as a win does for Alex, and how fucking much more damaging it would be marketability wise for, like, I feel like I just feel like Adesanya being champion is good for business. It's good for the UFC, and we'll see what happens here. I'm going Izzy with a 3rd round TKO. I feel like he's just gonna be better in the octagon, better with some grappling exchanges. I mean, he was winning the fights when they fought before, and he got caught. So I'm going Izzy by 3rd round TKO. I don't know if I'm going to watch this fight yet. In the co-main event, we got Zhang Weili versus the champion, Carla Esparza. You know what's a fucking phrase that I hate? I hear people say a lot when they talk about fights. They be like, well, this fighter has more ways to win, so I'm gonna go with that person. Nigga, it only takes one way to win. You could come in here and beat a nigga of 1,000 holds. You know what I'm saying? Dean Malenko ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? But that don't mean if this nigga come over here and get you a fucking clothesline, JBL ass, some shit from hell, and wreck your shit, your 1,000 fucking holds don't mean shit to me. You know what I'm saying? I hate when niggas say, oh, well, I'm going with this person because he's got more ways to win. But if Carla Esparza's only way to win is to take you down and fucking ground and pound you like that, and she's fucking good at that, you can't just say to me, I'm going with Zhang because she's got more ways to win, when Carla Esparza's really good at her fucking game plan here. We know what the game plan is. Take you down with the wrestling, spam them takedowns, and just grind you out, beat you up on the ground. We know her game plan. Why switch it up if it fucking works? You're 2-time champion. Why switch it up? So that's what makes this fight interesting to me. I don't give a fuck about if Zhang has more ways to win. We've definitely seen Zhang have some mental lapses in the octagon. I think her fight IQ, she's very talented. But it's even similar to Yuri Prochazka when he was fighting Glover Teixeira. And repeatedly in the fight, I remember I was watching Adesanya do the fight companion, and there'd be moments where Yuri would just be piecing up Glover, and then he'd throw a flying knee for no reason, and then Glover would take him down, and it just kept happening. And Adesanya was flipping like, stop throwing the flying knee, and it's like, bro, you're fucking so talented, but you just keep having these fucking holes right here in your fight IQ. Just like right there, you're doing so great, and then right there, you just make terrible decisions. And we've seen Zhang just like throw these combinations from like Macy Barber distance, nigga. It almost makes it look like Macy Barber's is gonna land. Alright, in comparison to how far I've seen some videos of Zhang throwing these fucking combinations. She's attempting shit. She makes weird decisions from time to time, but she's got a lot of technique. She's very fucking strong. And she's been training with Henry Cejudo. We saw everybody's real hype about the video of her picking up Francis Ngannou, who's saying he's 293 pounds. Everybody's pretty hype about that. My point is, she's great everywhere, and that's all fine and dandy. But Carla Esparza she's a specialist. She's so good at that right there, just taking you down and grinding you out. And that could definitely win the fucking day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so torn on this fight. To me, this is a fucking pick'em. I know people are favoring Zhang because she's got more ways to win, but it only takes one way. It can only take one way to win. Fucking A. You know who's the favorite going into Ben Askren versus Jorge Masvidal? Ben Askren was the heavy favorite. And now he goes on in history as the nigga who was knocked out the fastest out of any other nigga in the UFC. He's got that record. You know what I'm saying? Came in the heavy favorite, came out a fucking meme. That's just how this shit happens. So I'm going Carla Esparza. I mean, fuck. I could definitely see Carla shutting down the takedowns. And then if she's able to do that, really shut down them takedowns, then I could see it looking like Joanna Esparza won. When Joanna won the belt, when she just put it on Carla. Carla could not get her wrestling going, and she just got pieced the fuck up. But I think Carla is 1,000 times better than who we saw in that fight. I think Carla's going to get her game going. I think there's a reason why Rose Namajunas chose to stay the fuck away. Stay the fuck away. Alright? I mean, I could be 100% wrong here. But I am going with Carla Esparza. I don't know about finish, but I feel like she's going to get her game going. I'm going with Carla in this one. And still. And also the People's main event. We got Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, Chandler. You know, for me personally, for the Babylon 5 podcast, I would say I think it's just more entertaining if, I mean, I was going to say it's more entertaining if Michael Chandler wins. But honestly, it just hit me that this fight was like 1,000 times much more interesting before Islam beat Charles. But now that Islam beat Charles in the way that he beat Charles, do you see any of these niggas putting any kind of resistance against Islam? Islam is about to walk through niggas, alright? I see that nigga being champion until he decides he don't want it no more. Till he, I don't even know, like one of the other Nurmagomedovs are gonna come up. They're gonna have he's gonna be like, I'm gonna fight Khabib's cousin. They're gonna put him in the octagon. They're gonna be like, alright, fight. And then they're gonna face off like they're about to fight. And then Islam is gonna lay down. One of the Nurmagomedovs is gonna pin him for the 3 count. And we got a new champion. That's what's gonna happen here. That's the only way I see is him doing that old school NWO job. That's the only way I see Islam giving up that belt anytime soon, man. He's a fucking problem for everybody. And you know, it's funny how people were like, oh, look what he did to Bobby Green on that level. Yeah, look what he did to Bobby Green on that level. It looks like everybody's on that same level when they're fighting Islam Makhachev. Everybody seems to be on that level. It's nutty. Except for my nigga Arman Sarukian. Though I felt like Armin got robbed in his last fight, or close fights aren't robberies, but I scored it the other way. I thought it was pretty clear the other way. Anywho, yeah, I'm gonna talk about this fight, but I just feel like this fight was much more interesting when they were potentially gonna fight Charles Oliveira next. I don't think either one really feels like they want to fight Islam Makhachev. Islam looks like way more of a problem than Khabib. His striking looks really great. Defense in the stand-up looks great. Like, of course, that grappling is phenomenal. He submitted the Submission King. Like, Jesus. I want to talk about this fight, but what are they even fighting for? For a fucking trip to the slaughterhouse? You're all gonna go eventually, I guess. You don't even need to have this fight. Just wait your turn. Islam said he wants to stay active. You want to know why? Because he's walking through these niggas. I think he's going to walk through Dustin Poirier. I think he's going to walk through Michael Chandler. And I think Michael Chandler is going to lose this fight. I'm going with Dustin Poirier here. I think it would be much more interesting just like from us. I don't even know if it's a switch it up. They both have had title fights recently. I'm hoping this is just a fun fight. I think it's only 3 rounds. I wish it was 5. But we get a nice 3-round war. They get to throw everything. But it's usually when you get, like, with the Gaethje Chandler, you want 2 more rounds for that. I feel like, man, just make every fight 5 rounds. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to have the championship round, like, fights be 5 rounds, make all fights 5 rounds. Why is it usually, like, they'll be like, yep, the champions had 7 5-round fights, and this is the first time the challenger's ever been in a 4th round fight. Like, he's never been to the 4th round before, and he looks exhausted. Like, that makes no sense to me. No sense at all. Make every fight 5 rounds. Or make every fight 3 rounds. Pick your poison. I just think Dustin Poirier, if I'm going to make some sense of this, I think Dustin Poirier is just going to be the better fighter here. I like Michael Chandler a lot, but I was going to say Poirier's got more ways to win. I think his boxing is just sharp. It's just much more sharp. It's sharper than Michael Chandler's. I like his patience in there. You know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of wasted movements. Unless you can frustrate Poirier early on, there's not a lot of wasted movements in Poirier. Alright? Pretty much everything he throws is, yeah, it's doing what it's supposed to do, and it's not coming out there unless, don't pull it if you ain't gonna use it, as a wise man once said. Well, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like you see, with Chandler being the smaller guy, having to come in with these big movements to kind of work his way in, I feel like Poirier is going to really be able to, like, sit back and, like, counter off of that and then just put the pressure on Chandler. And once he's backing Chandler up, I feel like it's only a matter of time before he probably finishes this guy. I feel like Poirier would finish Chandler by the 2nd round. I'm going with Dustin Poirier with a 2nd round finish. Man, he's just better. Like, I think Chandler's dope, and it would be cool if I think it's more interesting if Chandler wins here, kinda, but, like, it was only more interesting if the niggas could fight Charles Oliveira. That fight seemed a little more competitive. But I need niggas to I feel like the only nigga that I really see that could hang with Islam Makhachev as of recency bias would say anything would be Dariush. I want to see what Dariush looks like against a guy like Islam Makhachev. That's what I want to know, ladies and gentlemen. That's the only thing I'm interested in. But shout out to a lot of people on this card. I didn't want to just sit here and babble about everybody. I like the shorter episode. I did it last week, and I was like, ay caramba. Feel like I'm on to something, but there's some bangers on here. Frankie Edgar has announced that he's retiring after this fight against Chris Gutierrez. That's pretty interesting fight. You got Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles. I'm not too familiar with Claudio Puelles. That's 12-2. Oh, he just recently defeated Clay Guida. Okay. I've seen this guy fight. All right, I'm familiar with this guy. I'm more familiar with the fights than I am the names. But there's a lot of good fights here. Renato Moicano versus Brad Riddell. Dominic Reyes versus Ryan Spann. I had actually queued up some images at first to talk about that fight, and then I was like, nah, I'm cool. But I think that could be an interesting fight. Dominic Reyes making his return. Aaron Blanchfield versus Molly McCann. I think Aaron Blanchfield is gonna just straight mollywop Miss Meatball McCann. That's what I think is gonna happen in that fight. It's funny because Miranda Maverick called out Molly McCann, but like Molly McCann's fighting the following week against Aaron Blanchfield, and Aaron Blanchfield is I'm pretty sure about to fucking whoop that ass. All right, she's about to show her its levels to this shit. Aaron Blanchfield is about to whoop that ass. Otman Zaitar versus Matt Frivola. Shout out to Matt the Steamroller Frivola for following the podcast on Twitter. Shout out to Matt Frivola. And good luck in that fight against Otman Zaitar. Pardon me. You got Carolina Kovalevich versus Silviana Gomez Juarez. That's an interesting fight, especially if you do like, I don't know, DraftKings and all kinds of shit. First fight of shout out to Montel Jackson, Milwaukee's own Montel Jackson. Told you guys how I ran into him when Brady Fest was going on a few months ago. So yeah, shout out. That was pretty fucking random. I was running back to watch one of these fights. I feel like Alexander Volkanovski and Holloway, the last fight, I believe. I know it was like Alex Smith versus Magomedov, I believe. I'm fucking up, but yeah, it was that one of those nights. It was a pay-per-view night, and I needed to get back home. I think Derek Lewis lost to Sergey Pavlovich that night, and that's when I was like, all right, now I gotta head back to watch the rest of this card, and I ran into Montel Jackson. So shout out to Montel Jackson. He's fighting Julio Arce this weekend, and we got Carlos Usberg. A lot of CKB niggas on this card, as per usual. When niggas fight, they try to pack it up with the whole camp. So you got Carlos Usberg, CKB, fighting Nikolai Nigaremo. It's not Nigaremo, but it looks that it makes you want to say that. And I love that DC, the last time, Nagumaru. Last time he fought, Daniel Cormier was like Nigaremu. And it was like, yes, exactly. That is his name. That's how I've been reading it. That's how every nigga here has been reading it. Nigaremu. Alright, so Nikolai Nigaremu versus Carlos Ulberg. I don't know, that's a crazy fight. I feel like the favorite is probably Nigaremu, but I don't know. I feel like Ulberg could definitely shock a lot of people in that fight. And if you guys want to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. And if you guys want to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I appreciate you guys if you guys are watching on YouTube. If you guys would like to follow this podcast on Twitch, it's at twitch.tv/Babylon5. And if you guys would like to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. If you guys want to cop these fresh ass Summit Ice jackets, you gotta Google it. I don't forget the website. But check that shit out. Summit Ice is dope. If you guys would like to be my patrons, not just my Nijis, head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5pod and you can be my fucking Niji. Be my fucking Niji tonight. Be my fucking Niji tonight. You know what I'm saying? Be my fucking Niji tonight. Thank you guys for being here for the 168th consecutive week. This is your boy Jermaine Event. This is Babylon 5 Podcast. Calling this bad boy See No Evil, as I told you, if you forgot. And I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and each other. And I'll see you when I see you. I'll holla. If y'all niggas ain't know, that's like a retarded ass mix of Jerry Springer's Goodbye and then Cedric the Entertainer had a show back in the day that I fucked with called the Cedric the Entertainer Show. And he ended it with, and I'll see you when I see you. I'll holla. So that's where it comes from. But yeah, peace.
Chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang the ling bang chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant